So KOF 13 released in 2010. Street Fighter 4 released in 2009, and then you had Marvel vs. Capcom, or we'll just say Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 released in 2011. There was a 3-year run of just fighting games being released that was just fantastic. So by the time you got to 2011 and you're bringing in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, like the end of every event was just a banger. Like to just get KOF 13, then depending on what tournament you had, or because they both switched back and forth, it was either going to be Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or a version of Street Fighter 4 being played. Like the end of almost every tournament during that area was just magical, like magical. And I think, well, I'll just stick with those. So during the time that those three were in there, of course, with Street Fighter 4 being released, people can say that's an automatic, like when the FGC was at its best. But for me, when those three games were in rotation at the major tournaments, like what a time to be alive, man. Like looking back at those times, like it, I mean, just the magic that was happening back then, like watching these events and stuff like that. Then it was a time where traveling and stuff had gotten big into the FGC. You were seeing like all the killers that you knew was at every tournament. It was just a magical time, bro. Like to be in the FGC and remembering all that. Because after that, stuff just kind of started going downhill. Street Fighter Cross Tekken was released. Um, and then after that, Capcom kept having its blunders. Then Tekken Tag 2 came out, which was fun, but apparently, it was the worst selling Tekken of all time. And then after we got KOF 14, so a lot of the games that replaced those games after that, just were kind of duds in the scene. So it's like that time, man, fantabulous. If you'll let me make up that word.
It's a little bit of a toss up for me now because I do want to say like that late 2000s to like mid 2010s era was definitely goated because it was just like watching tournaments. It was like must see TV. I mean, for me, I'm a Marvel head, so you had the curly mustache events. You had all these things like just watching people play. You had exhibitions, money matches, stuff like that. You got certain matches like I remember like Kane Blue River versus Filipino champ, like that grudge match and seeing that happen. Just so many great matches. Man, it was a magical time. But I can't, part of me wants to say now, and the reason why I'm saying now is because of the potential, like where we are with like what people can make. Like it's been known like the FGC in terms of like prize pool is not comparative to like other avenues of gaming, like your shooters, your mobile stuff like that. And people were making money, but like now, like with the advent of like this recent like Street Fighter with the Capcom Cup, and then you had what was the next one that had like the $400,000 for first place? Um I forgot what that tournament was, but like being able to make that much money now playing fighting games, it's not all fighting games, still got room to grow, but just having that outlet, like man, a person can become like a millionaire pretty much, or just about from playing a fighting game. And then there's so many fighting games now. Rexon just mentioned like the lull after like that that extent of like just awesomeness. There was like a lull, like certain games came out, they weren't as good as the previous renditions. Now we have so many fighting games, a lot of good fighting games right now, and then we still have like fighting games on the advent. We got 2XKO coming out, so there's even more opportunities for stuff. People are still playing online, is like thriving still. People are trying to get better with that, like making a product roll back, making sure they have good online. So it's a toss up for me. I want to say I don't know, man, but I might have to agree with Rex on, because I think about watching those events, and we used to like watch together. It was an event. Like when Evo come out, it's an event. We getting food, we getting together.
Facts.
Man, hey, I'm gonna have to go with the late 2000, 2010, man. Like I do love that it's like I do think that aspect of being able to earn more, and like there's more opportunities in certain aspects, especially depending on what game you're playing, namely Tekken and Street Fighter. But man, that was a magical time, man. Just you couldn't miss a tournament back then. I didn't miss a tournament. Just you had to watch them. So I think late 2000s, mid 2010s.
If I was going to say, I would probably err on the side of what Devin said about like now being probably like one of the best times for fighting games, because definitely there are a lot. And first off, there are a lot more fighting games that cater to a lot of different sensibilities. You know, like and a lot of oftentimes I feel like a lot of people felt like they were excluded. You know, like not necessarily intentionally, but because there were games that they felt like they couldn't get into the games. Like I bet you that, you know, we talked about games that people felt like tried but they couldn't get into. I bet a lot of people would say like some of the games that are like staples in the community that they tried but couldn't get into. And I mean, there's so many like games, especially ones that came out in like the past couple years, like even like games that were old that had like kind of a small resurgence, like Virtual Fighter like 5, like they redid that, like the Ultimate, you know, fighter, like that one came out on PlayStation. You have like Under Night, you got Grand Blue, you know, like all these different games that like I mean Melty Blood, you know, had its latest iteration, and I didn't think that they were ever going to make another Melty Blood game. You know, Tekken is as popular as it's ever been. You know, you got Street Fighter 6, and you know, in addition to that, you know, you like especially in like the last few years, you know, you've had like all these people coming out of the woodwork that you didn't really know about before. I mean, not like we didn't know about, like a lot of people here in America didn't know about, like up until like what, like 2018, 2019. A lot of people here in the States had no idea who Arslan Ash was, you know, but he'd been around for a while. He just wasn't here. He was over in Pakistan, you know. You have like what's called knee. You got people coming from what's called South America and stuff like that, like Brazil, like all of these players that you know that were relatively unknown to a lot of people here in the States that were like making their appearance on the scene, and it's like, oh wow, like it's like a really World Warrior kind of thing. Like it's like we talk about Street Fighter, World Warrior. It really is like a World Warrior kind of scene, you know. So I think yeah, I would probably, especially like going back to like the late 2010s, I would say like till about now, I would say has been a pretty good, even with the what's called the with the pandemic, which is kind of in a way only fostered the ability for people to like, you know, play together over great distances and stuff, like to at least attempt that. So yeah, I would probably go ahead and say, because we have such variety, such a different like a diverse cast of characters both in and outside the game now, and just in general, like you know, it's just I think it's pretty great now.